Alright, it's a new day. We're still working on the floor of the boat. The boat floor needs to be... The boat has these seams here, and I need to lay some fiberglass from the sides to the bottom to really secure them together. So I'm going to run a bead of thickened epoxy all around. I've already done it a little bit here with some of the extra that I had when I was gluing the floors on. I'll be able to lay my final flooring on top. So that's the plan for today, is just fill these seams and then tape. That's what the fiberglass is called when we do the fiberglass on all the edges and stuff, is taping the fiberglass. All the taping has been put on. It was a little messy because I did these cracks here and I filled all the screws with the extra filler, and then it got all over my shoes, so now there's a bunch of epoxy footprints all over. But that's okay. It doesn't really matter since it'll be covered. The tape looks good. So it's the next day. I don't think there were really any air gaps. Hard to tell, but if you hear that versus, I'd say it doesn't really matter if there is, because it's much stronger and pretty well adhered all over. So now I just need to sand all of these edges and all of this, I don't know if you can see, yeah, and all of these like holes and everything, and make it all flat. And then I can do a finished layer of epoxy and then another layer of epoxy, and then it'll be prepared for the wood. I have been researching how to do the wood flooring, and it seems relatively straightforward. There's a lot of things to consider, so I'm glad that I'm reading up on it. Now it's time for sanding. Oh, my suit is a little worse for wear, but that's fine. I got my use out of it probably more than I was supposed to. Can't see my face. The floor's all done. It's all shiny. I'm gonna leave it there. The only other things I have to do on the boat before I put the yellow cedar on is I probably need to work on the transom so I don't accidentally make the transom or make the floor dirty while I'm working on the transom. So I'm gonna do that next. The floor is dry now. It's gonna be a couple days till I can cut all the yellow cedar to put on here. So in the meantime, I'm gonna work on the transom. I have this piece of, I think it's keyaki, to put as a replacement for this little top part. And then I need to cut out this laminate. And I decided I'm gonna put a piece of steel here, which normally I would be more concerned about that, and I would put the aluminum because obviously the steel might rust, but I'm thinking that I'll be able to put enough epoxy on it and kind of seal it in and make sure that nothing ends up getting in there. And since it's just the motor mount area, hopefully it's not going to be submerged a great amount, because the only reason I would be concerned about steel is due to the way that steel keels hold up on sailboats. But since this isn't going to be fully submerged, hopefully it'll be fine, and that'll be a much more solid mounting point, and I won't get divots like this in the wood or in the steel for that matter. So that's kind of what I'm going to do today, is I'm going to work on cutting that keyaki to fit in here and then trying to fit up a piece of steel that'll go in here. So I got a little carried away, but there's definitely rot in the transom down here. It's like wet, not completely rotten, so like it would have held fine, but I want to get rid of it anyway. So I'm gonna do my best to cut the fiberglass out, see how far it is, and then I might just cut out this whole thing, even though it's just like moist. Might be easier to do a new piece of plywood and then fiberglass it. I still have some leftover okume, so I'll probably just put that in there. I cut myself twice, so I think I'm gonna take a break. It's kind of hard to tell. There you can kind of see it's wet, all the wood, very rotten at the bottom. Water sank down all the way to the bottom here, and then over here, and that's where the two engine mount places were, so they were here and over here, and then there might be a crack near the bottom too. There's definitely water leaking around this hole on the outside, so I'll have to replace that. But for now, it's just removing it. Seeing that transom all messed up is a little discouraging, and not 100% sure what I'm gonna do. I'm having Lars help me because I don't really, like, I was reading some books on repairing your boats and stuff, and I can't come up with it. I can't come up with a smart way to do it, or like, cause it's not rotten yet. It's like really wet. There might be some rotten spots. I can't really tell, and I don't think I need to remove the whole thing. And so, thinking of a smart way to go about replacing it is a little bit out of my wheelhouse. So I'm actually changing my reasoning for why it's so wet. It's wet because there wasn't a good seal around this ring right here, around where the plug goes. So this is where the plug would go and everything drains out of the bottom of the boat. There was no seal. I just pulled this straight out, no problem. So what I'm gonna do is, since all of this stuff is dry, or relatively dry, I'm gonna try and flatten this top bit, and then on this bottom bit, I'm just gonna cut this all the way to the hole, and I'm gonna fill that with fiberglass and resin until it reaches the same level as this, and then I'll put a piece of plywood here that'll reach the same level as the original transom. And that should make sure it fixes the hole, there's not gonna be any leaking anywhere, and this whole thing will be structurally sound and ready for whatever I want to put on it. So I've been gone a couple days from the boat. I was allowing it to dry, and I was cutting the wood. So as you can see, Lars took the liberty of putting this heat lamp here, which was really nice of him. Helped really dry this out. It's very dry now, compared, maybe not completely dry, but definitely, like, compared to what it was, like, none of this is wet. The camera ran out of space for me to record, so I wasn't able to record this last little portion that I did, but I added a bunch of layers of fiberglass behind that plywood, and then I added the plywood because since I already had 3 or 4 layers of fiberglass, I figured that was strong enough, and then I'll fill the rest with plywood since plywood's cheaper and, you know, it'll fill up a lot quicker. Then this monstrosity that you see here is my clamping method to clamp the plywood really strongly in there. So I just have like a screw in here, and then there's a block of wood inside of those plastic bags. The plastic bags are just so it doesn't stick. Now I'm just gonna take all of this off, and then I'm gonna cut out a piece of plywood that'll fit within that little recessed area. I'll need 2 pieces there. Then I'll put the steel there, and then either I'll put a big sheet of plywood over the whole thing so that there's no weaknesses, or I might just fiberglass. I don't know. The real reason I'm not sure whether or not I'll fiberglass it is because I have to talk to Lars and see what he thinks. I think he wants me to put a bigger piece of plywood there, so I might end up doing that, even though it won't look as integrated. But strength is more important than aesthetics. Wow, look at that lens flare. Oh, it's such a good shot. I finished gluing up the transom. Well, one piece on the transom. It was not flat at all, and I didn't really apply clamping forces properly, but it's oozing out of everywhere, so I'm hoping that, I don't know, I really don't want it to break. I did my best. It's got a shit ton of resin all over it. But, yeah, I mean, cross my fingers, I guess. So I'm gonna sleep on it, and I'll be back tomorrow to finish it up. I don't know anything. I'm just a boy. So you might be able to tell I squeezed out a lot. So I think it should be fine. I'm gonna take all the clamps and everything off and knock on it, and then alright, so after knocking, you can hear it better with the hammer, but that's solid. That's not. So I think right here, that's where the fiberglass was, and everything above that was wood. So I didn't get proper clamping down here because I couldn't screw in through here because there was nothing to screw through. So I think there's a little bit of delamination. What I'm gonna do is drill holes and inject resin in there to fill that up, and then I'll put the other plate on top of it, and that should do fine, and then fiberglass the whole thing. But it's definitely hollow, which is no good. Waiting for all this to glue up. Till then, I wanted to show something really cool. These are the drain holes. One drain hole for the engine and one drain hole for the baler. This is what the old plug looks like. It's a screw. You put it in the hole, and then you have to screw it over and over and over and over, and it'll squish this piece of rubber until it seals. I got new ones today because it was missing one. So I got these. These are really cool, not only because they look nice, but all you do is you stick it in the hole, and then you have a little lever, and you just push the lever, and now it's sealed. So I'm very excited about these. I don't know, I just think they're really clever and really cool. Everything in here is glued up and dry, so I need to level. Oh, we can't see it all. Cut this level right here. And then I'll cut a slit in here and chisel it out so I can put in the metal piece, and then fiberglass over the thing. All you see is my beautiful face. The transom is, oh, how did I cut my wrist? The transom is double layered. I didn't really get the time to show that because the camera ran out, but it's extra beefy. You can kind of see it here. Here's the first layer and then the second layer overlaps there, but it's pretty strong. I'm not confident in my abilities on the lamination of this thing. I think even with it being the metal and double fiberglass and new wood and everything, like, I still don't trust the work that I did. So it makes me kind of anxious. Anyway, to be able to finish this up, I need to sand the thing and probably put like another piece of fiberglass over this part so that there won't be a crack here and water won't be able to get in like it kind of did last time. Oh, and then I need to paint it, but I think I'm gonna do most of that after I get the floor on, because I'll use some of the resin to patch some things and whatever, and they're kind of gonna go hand in hand. Since I just have some finishing work to do and I don't think I'm gonna get around to doing it anytime soon, it's not really that big of a concern to me. I'm gonna say this is the end of this video, this is the end of the transom, and the next thing is doing the flooring, and hopefully that won't take as long. Alright, see you in the next video.